Hello, how are you? Today I'm going to talk to you about the top 5 enemies of our gut. It's very important that we avoid consuming these foods at least on a daily basis because they can harm the functioning of the intestines, increase the risk of constipation, raise intestinal inflammation, increase intestinal gas, and can cause health problems. In fact, some of them can lead to more serious issues in the future. I'll explain more about that. Stay until the end because you won't want to miss it. And if you love tips on diet, nutrition, health, and fitness, you'll love the channel. Subscribe and remember to turn on the notification bell to get updates. I post new videos every day and you'll love them. So let's start talking more about these foods that are bad for your gut. Before we get started, I want to know if there's any food that when you eat it, you already feel it does you harm. Maybe it constipates you, gives you diarrhea, causes a lot of gas, or you feel pain or bloating. Let me know down below in the comments. The first food on my list is white sugar. Many people don't realize that sugar can be very harmful to our gut, especially if you consume a large amount of it every day. Sugar can harm the gut for several reasons. First, sugar itself is a highly inflammatory food. It causes insulin spikes in our body, and this excess insulin increases systemic inflammation, which also leads to increased inflammation in the gut. But one of the main problems with sugar is that it ferments and promotes the growth of bad bacteria in our intestines. We know that there are many bacteria that colonize our bodies, both on the outside and inside, throughout the entire digestive tract. So it's very important for us to increase the amount of good bacteria and beneficial yeasts, which don't like sugar, at least not refined sugar. So this refined white sugar from sweets, puddings, the sugar you put in your coffee, ice cream, will stimulate the production of bad bacteria, can increase the predisposition to dysbiosis, and will harm your gut health. So the best option is for you to reduce or even cut out white sugar altogether. I have a video here on the channel teaching how to do this, and I'll leave it down below in the description. And remember to substitute it with healthier alternatives, such as natural fruits or non-caloric sweeteners. Stevia is a good example. I'll leave a playlist of healthy, sugar-free desserts down below in the description because just because you're cutting out sugar doesn't mean you have to go without sweets. So I'll leave it down below in the description for you. The second food on our list is excessive consumption of red meat. Many people don't know this, but red meat is linked to worsening intestinal transit. It can cause constipation, it's a food that's digested very slowly, completely lacks fiber, and it can be pro-inflammatory, especially if you eat it with a lot of saturated fat. So it's a food that, if you eat it in large amounts on a daily basis, you may have already noticed that it has a negative impact on your gut. Besides that, depending on the type of meat and how you prepare it, this can make things even worse. There are some studies that have already found that excessive consumption of red meat can increase, for some people, the risk of inflammatory bowel diseases. So if you already have a gut problem or a family history of it, it's important that you restrict your red meat consumption as much as possible, maybe just once a week, and focus more on proteins that are easier to digest. Of course, fish and white meat are good options, but don't forget about beans, chickpeas, and lentils, because in addition to the benefits of protein, they also provide fiber, which is excellent for intestinal function. Still, more or less along the same lines as red meat, we can't avoid talking about ultra-processed foods, especially ultra-processed meats. Those smoked cured meats with nitrates curing salts, these meats specifically are among the few foods that have already been linked to an increased risk of cancer, according to serious and scientifically proven research. I have a video here on the channel talking about foods that increase the risk of cancer, a serious video. You know I always do very thorough research on this topic. I'll leave the link down below in the description for you. And bacon, sausage, calabresa, dried beef, these processed, cured, smoked meats, especially smoked ones, are strongly associated with inflammatory and intestinal problems in the future. I'm not trying to say it's a direct relationship. If you eat a pepperoni pizza today, it doesn't mean you'll get cancer in the future. For heaven's sake, that's not what I'm saying. The point is, if you already have a predisposition, if you already have a personal or family history, it's better to restrict these as much as possible. In other words, you can eat them once a week, but don't overdo the amount in your diet. Because I know there are people who every day add sausage to their beans, put bacon with their vegetables because they don't like vegetables. So be careful with that, restrict it as much as possible, and you'll improve your gut health. In addition, it's worth remembering that other processed foods, fast food, ultra-processed products, anything that's heavily packaged and ultra-processed, can be linked to worsening gut health because they're often high in trans fats, a lot of sodium, low in fiber, and low in nutrients. So, trying to have a more varied, more nutritious, fresher, and healthier diet will improve your bowel movements and your overall gut health. Another food that is terrible for our gut, but that many people still consume every day, is white flour. White flour is very poor in nutrients. It contains very little fiber, has a very high glycemic index, which can also increase inflammation in the gut. It is also very rich in gluten, which, for some more sensitive people, can be a problem and increase inflammation in the gut as well. So you can replace white flour with oat flour, which will work very well in about 90% of recipes. You can choose sources with more fiber, such as chickpea flour, which also has a lot of fiber, just like oat flour, much more than white flour and also more nutritious. You can opt for lower carb options like flaxseed flour, chia flour, coconut flour, psyllium. I have a video here on the channel that talks more about how to substitute wheat flour in your diet, and I'll leave it in the description. Another food that can harm intestinal function for some people, at least in large amounts for many people, is excessive dairy. They ferment a lot in our intestines. Lactose can cause a lot of gas, bloating, and abdominal pain in many people, leaving you with that bloated feeling. And if you are lactose intolerant, then it gets even worse. So if that's the case, you can try replacing cow's milk with some other type of plant-based milk. Remember that I have a playlist here on the channel with plant-based milks for you to make at home from scratch, which are cheaper. I'll leave it in the description for you. Look, remember that I have several really cool videos here on the channel to help you improve your gut health. I have a video explaining what dysbiosis is, if you want to learn more about that. I also have a video explaining the difference between probiotics and prebiotics, and even a playlist of probiotics for you to make at home from scratch and consume, because they are wonderful for your gut. I have videos talking more about gas, videos about constipation, diarrhea, and irritable bowel syndrome, which affects a lot of people nowadays. They're all in a really great playlist about digestion and gut health, so I'll leave that playlist down below, along with some videos I think you'll like, also in the description. Take a look there, because there's a lot of information for you. Let me know down below if you've already cut these foods out of your daily routine, or if you've now decided to make a change, which one are you going to change? I'd love to see your comment. If you know someone who needs this information, share this video. Let's spread this chain of good. That's what I want with this channel. And do your part too. Leave a like because that really helps me out. See you next time. Bye!